Welcome data enthusiasts. Today we are diving into the exciting world of data analysis and we've got a powerful companion to guide us through the journey, which is ChatGPT. In this video, we are going to see some very cool use cases for using ChatGPT for data analysis, and in the end, we are also going to analyze a dataset using ChatGPT. Okay, so let's get into it. If you aren't familiar with the ChatGPT, so this is how the interface of ChatGPT looks like. On the left hand side, you have all the previous interactions that you had with the ChatGPT, and here you have a text box inside which you can write your commands and ChatGPT will generate output. So let's discuss some of the use cases that you can use ChatGPT for data analysis. So the first use case for ChatGPT is that it can explain the code very well. So if you provided code in any programming language, be it Python, Java, SQL, R, or any other programming language, and ask it to explain the code for you, then it is going to do the same for us. So here I have a code snippet in Python language where I am actually creating a connection with the SQL database using pandas library, and then I am performing different operations on it. So let's quickly copy it. I'm going to come back to my ChatGPT and here I'm going to prompt it, can you explain this code to me? And then I am going to paste the code that I have just copied here inside the ChatGPT for it to explain. Let's paste everything and hit enter. So it has explained the code for us. So for the first part, you can see that it has shown us that it is written in Python and it uses several libraries, and it has listed on all the libraries that we are using and has divided the code into chunks for better understanding. Then you can see that here the code imports the required libraries and creating a connection for manipulation. Then we have creating a MySQL database engine. So here it is showing us the code chunk which is creating the MySQL database engine. Then reading and displaying tables from the database, creating a table in the database. So you can see that it has correctly divided our code into different chunks and provided an explanation for each chunk of code correctly. And the most interesting thing is it has also given us a suggestion that make sure to correct the issue with the create table statement and use engine.execute for executing the DDL statements. Also ensure that the paths and file names in the code are accurate for your environment. So it's pretty cool that it is also giving us suggestions in addition to just explaining our code. Now let's move to our second use case. So just like ChatGPT is very good at explaining your code, it is also really good at creating code for you. So let's say if you want to generate a SQL query for your data set, then you can also generate it using the ChatGPT. You simply have to give it the correct prompt and it is going to generate a query for you, and it does not only apply to SQL language. It can also generate code for you for any programming language until and unless you provided the correct prompt to do so. So let's go ahead and do it. So here I am not providing it any dataset. I am gonna simply prompt it to create a SQL query to show me the average revenue by month for the year 2020. Hit enter and let's wait for it to generate the response. Okay, so the response has been generated. And it is given some explanation that in order to calculate the average revenue, you will need to use a SQL query that involves grouping by month and then calculated the average revenue for the month. So the coolest thing is it has provided us the code and given us the option to copy the code. So you can simply copy it and add it to your code and you will be good to go. Now let's move to another cool use case for ChatGPT in which you can ask ChatGPT to get complete code having multiple files for any programming language. So you can ask ChatGPT to generate code for a specific topic in any particular programming language, and it is going to do the same and is going to provide your code for each of the files that might be created during the creation of code for that topic. So let's say if I want to get the code for the remote method invocation in Java language, and you already know that RMI involves the stub and skeleton, and also there are a remote caller and so many files that need to be created. So let's see how ChatGPT responds to it. So I'm gonna prompt it, generate the complete code for RMI in Java language. So you have to define the topic on which you want to generate the code and the language in which you want to generate it. Hit enter and now wait for it to generate the response. Okay, so the response has been generated and you can see it has firstly given us a brief introduction of what RMI is, and then it has created code for all the different files that we need to create in order to use RMI in Java language. So firstly, it has created a remote interface and it has provided us the code for it. Then we have the implementation for the remote interface. And the best part of it is it has also added different comments to it so that a person who is working on RMI first time will understand what each line of the code is doing by using the comments which are mentioned inside the code. Then we have the code for the server. Similarly, we have the code for the client, and then you have the steps to run the example. So this is a cool thing that it has also given you the steps to run it so that you might not get into any trouble while running this example. So that's a really cool feature of ChatGPT. Now let's see another interesting use case of ChatGPT for data analysis, which is to perform sentiment analysis. Yes, you can actually prompt the ChatGPT to do sentiment analysis for a dataset for us. So you simply have to upload the dataset here and ask it to generate the sentiment analysis. So here I have this file that contains people's review about different movies. So there are almost 20 reviews inside the file, but since the reviews are long, so ChatGPT isn't going to get it and will ask you to enter something shorter. So I'm simply going to select the first 5 reviews from it. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to come back to my ChatGPT and here I am going to prompt it. Can you do a sentiment analysis for this text? Okay, and then you have to place the text that you want to do the analysis for. Hit enter and now wait for it to generate the response. Okay, so the response has been generated and it is something really interesting. So you can see that since we uploaded the reviews of 5 people, so it has divided it into 5 different points. And you can see that for the first text, the sentiment is negative. And it hasn't only provided us the sentiment, it has also given a brief analysis for it. So for the first text, it says the review expresses a negative sentiment, describing the show as a complete grid pie and unfavorable comment. Then we also have negative for the next text. And this is something interesting that for the text 3, it has somehow understood that the sentiment is mixed and it is also leaning towards negative, which is a cool thing for an AI generated model to understand. And similarly, it has generated the text for all other things. And in the end, it has given us a brief summary that the sentiments in the provided text range from negative to mixed, with various criticisms related to the quality of shows and movies, including aspects like acting, writing, directing, and authenticity. So it's a really interesting thing that an AI model can understand things this clearly and can easily summarize the thing in such a few lines. So that's really cool. Now let's talk about another cool use case for which you can use ChatGPT, which is code optimization. Yes, ChatGPT is also able to perform code optimization for us for code in any programming language. For this example, I'm going to use a SQL query and I'm going to prompt ChatGPT to optimize the code for me. So here is the code, or you can say the SQL query having specific window functions inside it. So I am going to copy this query from here and I'm going to come back to my ChatGPT and I'm going to prompt it, can you optimize this code for me? And then I'm simply going to paste the code here, hit enter. And the response has been generated. Let's quickly see it. Firstly, it is provided as the summary of what the actual code was doing. And now we have the optimized code. So you can see that it has created a CTE, which is a common table expression for us, in which we are calculating the customer sales and then we are using the total sales which was calculated inside it in this window function for the rank. And if you scroll down, you can see that it is also given that what has been optimized in our query. So it says that in the optimized version, it has used a common table expression. The main query then uses the customer sales, removing unnecessary nesting, and this optimization version maintains the functionality of the original query while enhancing readability and maintainability. So you can see that instead of having nested queries, it has divided the code into a CTE and then made it really simple for readability and maintainability. So it's a really fascinating thing that ChatGPT is also able to do code optimization as well. Now let's see how you can perform data analysis using ChatGPT. So for that, I have downloaded a dataset from Kaggle, and it is actually a dataset from a restaurant having the information about the orders. So these are all the columns which are present inside the dataset. Since it has only 250 to 300 records, but even then it is very much data for the ChatGPT. So instead of selecting all of this, I'm gonna select only 15 record. I'm gonna copy it, and now I'm gonna come back to ChatGPT and prompt it to perform data analysis. So in order to perform data analysis, you have to do some special things. Firstly, you have to say that you are a data analyst. So here I'm giving it some context that who you are and what you need to do. So after writing that you are a data analyst, now I'm gonna say, can you give me some insight and recommendations for this dataset? And then I'm going to place the dataset after the column. Now hit enter and wait for it to generate the response. Cool. So it has given us certain insights and certain recommendations. So let's see the insight. First one is popular payment mode. The most popular payment modes among customers are debit card, credit card, and cash on delivery. Consider promoting and providing incentives for online payment methods to streamline the transaction. Okay, so it has also given us some suggestions to improve it. Then we have insights about the delivery time, that delivery times vary. With some orders, it is taking longer than others. Then we have the customer ratings and order frequency, etc. And then there are certain recommendations like optimizing the delivery time, which says use data analytics to identify the patterns affecting delivery times and consider implementing route optimization software to minimize the delivery time, etc. Then we have that promote the online payments, leverage customer loyalty, enhance food quality, etc. So out of these recommendations, let's say that I'm gonna select this one and I'm going to say, can you tell me more about this, and paste it. Hit enter. Alright, so it has given us quite an extensive response for it. So firstly, it has given us how to define the high value customers, which have the transaction frequency, average order value, and the loyalty. Then after defining the high value customers, perform data analysis and then introduce different loyalty programs and personalized programs to implement the reward system, surprise and delight, exclusivity, etc. So it's quite great that in addition to all the recommendations, if you want to know more about it, you can simply prompt it and it's going to give you an extensive list of how you can actually implement that recommendation in your system. Now let's give another prompt to us. I'm gonna say, can you identify these loyal customers from the dataset? So let's see what is the response now. Okay, so not the response that I expected, but certainly it is a very useful one. So it has provided us that we can use a simple code chunk to identify the loyal customers for our organization or the restaurant in which the dataset is employing. So firstly, it is calculating the customer sales, customer frequency columns, and then it is using it to find the loyalty data and then applying a certain condition on the loyalty data to get the loyalty customer. It has also explained that what it is doing in the code chunk, so you can easily understand it and then employ it in your application to find out the loyal customers easily. So this wasn't the output that I was expecting. I was expecting it to give me the name of the customers who are loyal customers for the restaurant, but instead it has given me a code chunk, which is also pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and prompt it to put our dataset inside the pandas data frame in Python. So I'm gonna say, can you put this dataset into a pandas data frame in Python? Hit enter. So it has generated the response saying, certainly, to create a Python data frame. In Python with the provided dataset, you can use the following code. So here is a code snippet that you can add your order information in an array or a list called data, and then you can create a data frame object and how you can insert the data inside it. And it is also given us a suggestion that make sure to complete the data list with all the entries from the dataset. The code assumes that the dataset is provided in the form of list of dictionaries. So that's a really cool thing that whenever we prompt us to do something for us in any programming language, it can easily do it for us. Now let's prompt it in some other way. Can you give me the name of the customer who placed order more than once? So let's see that in response to this prompt, will it give me a code chunk to get the name of the customer, or will it actually give me the customer name? Hit enter and wait for the response. Okay, so once again it is given me a code chunk to find out the name of the customer who placed order more than once. Let's edit it and prompt it some other way. So I'm gonna edit it to from the dataset, and instead of give me, I'm gonna say point out. Now let's hit save and submit and see what it gives us. Again, it has given me same response. So let's see another prompt. So this time I'm going to say that I need you to give me the name, not the code. Now let's see what it gives us. Okay, so now it has given us the required output, and it says that based on the provided data set, the customers who placed order more than once are David and Dev. So it's all about correct prompting. The way you prompt it will be the defining factor of how well the response it is going to generate for you. So in this video, I've shown you some of the cool things that I've been using ChatGPT for. I showed you some of the cool features of ChatGPT, and then we even analyzed some data. We asked it certain questions and see how it interpreted our questions and generated different kinds of response for us. So it wasn't like a full analysis, but it was just a video of how you can use the ChatGPT for data analysis as well. So I hope that this was really helpful, and I hope that it was really exciting for you as well, like it was for me. So go try it out for yourself and be amazed by the features ChatGPT offers. Thank you.